Say hello to the Hojarasquín Del Monte, a forest dweller, protector of the coffee growing region in Colombia. This creature will guide you to safety if he decides you pose no threat to the forest. Otherwise, he will confuse you by making animal noises and leaving false trails until you are lost forever. And on that happy note, welcome back. Well, welcome back if you've been here before, otherwise just plain welcome, I guess. Oh boy. Right, let's start again. So autumn has begun here in the UK, so we have lots of these sycamore seeds in the garden. So I decided to use them for my next project, which is creating the Hojarasquín Del Monte, which is another famous myth in Colombia. So these seeds are the basis of my plan, along with a bit of bark that I'm going to use for the face. I should probably really quick explain that I didn't strip this bark from a tree. Certainly I don't want the Hojarasquín to think that I did so. This is wood chipping I just picked from the garden, and I'm just picking the biggest one and better looking one to create his handsome face. Now to make the body, I'm going to use these copper pipes because I had this crazy notion of using LEDs to light his eyes up and put some sort of mechanism underneath so you can switch them on and off. This is something I always wanted to do, so I thought this character would be a good opportunity to try it. So the plan is to make the base of the body out of polymer clay, which, as you know, needs baking. So obviously I can't put the wires before I put it in the oven. So the copper pipes are going to form a conduit for me to connect the batteries to the eyes. I bought some of these coin battery cases, which come in packs of 10, so expect to see more projects with LEDs. It holds 2 batteries and it comes already with a switch, which is quite handy, so I just need to connect these 2 wires to the LEDs. And by the magic of me forgetting to turn the camera on, the LEDs are already soldered together and they work properly, which is great. And now we may crack on with the character. I've got this small brass pipe, which is the right size for the LEDs to fit through, so I'm going to drill them through the bark and put the LEDs through. So hopefully they will look like nice goggles, I guess. I've used this rotary tool to cut them because I'm too lazy to use a hacksaw, so I just need to exactly the same length, and I can use the same bit in the rotary tool to polish them so there's no sharp edges. I'm now using a very highly precision method to mark where the eyes are going to go. And then I'm going to use a router bit on the rotary tool to make a hole big enough for the brass pipe. And finally, you can't see it here, but I'm wearing a massive grin because I didn't destroy the bark. And you can see they're perfectly positioned by my highly precision method. And it's looking really good. Just need to make sure they're exactly the same depth and glue them, and I can put the LEDs. This is looking good. Now it's just a matter of gluing them inside, making sure they're the right depth. And the LEDs are quite small compared to the pipe, so they might look a bit odd and kind of wobbly inside. So I decided to cover the outside of them with cabochons. That sounds French, doesn't it? This is a new word for me. By the way, I learned it from Ace of Clay. Thanks very much for that. So cabochons, they're these kind of semi-spherical bits of glass which I can safely put in the oven, although I won't put them obviously because they're attached to the bark. Anyway, so I just put them carefully on top to round the eyes, which will be really good. And they're already looking like nice geeky look, sort of look to the Hojarasquín. Look at that, awesome. So with the LEDs, hopefully this is going to look even better. Now I can move on to the polymer clay to cover up all the foil and the pipes. Now I have to, what is it I say? Condition the clay. Yeah. Now I use my makeshift pasta machine, which I still haven't got, and it's out for Christmas, guys. Anyway, just make a big sheet of it, put it all around, and basically cover up the whole thing. I need to be really careful with this because I'm planning on covering all these with the sycamore seeds. So this is just to give them something to stick to, and I'm just gonna paint it and give it a bit of a texture. Now, if you were wondering why I left that fastener around the copper pipe, this is why. I'm attaching a bit of wire to the sides so I can put the arms on it. So I put some wire to give it a bit of structure, and then I just need to cover them with the polymer clay, which I also have an extra thing to do once it's all finished, which you will see very soon. So this is him ready to bake. I did say didn't have to be very careful, and I wasn't. So yeah, so he's ready to go in the oven now. Right, this guy is now baked and ready to paint. I'm gonna mix a little bit of paint as close as possible to the color of the sycamore seeds, but it doesn't need to be exact. In fact, I'll just make them a little bit darker so they stand out a little bit more. I actually decided to make it as uneven as possible, so it's a bit like camouflage, so the background becomes as unimportant, as invisible as possible. Right, now for the seeds. I'm usually a very impatient person, but because I had to stick so many of them, I thought it might be worth taking the time to picking up the best and also organizing them by size. So I can start by using the larger ones at the bottom and the back, and get it smaller seeds as I get to the top and to the front. Before sticking the seeds to the body, I need to take the heads off because I need to overlap them. So I need to start from the back and then make my way to the front, and then from the bottom upwards as well. So start creating like little layers. Also, I put seeds all over the body, but leave the arms alone because I have a different plan for them. Now, once I finish with all the seeds, I just leave it to dry, and while that's done, I decide to start working on the base. I need a way to conceal the battery case, so I decided to make a hole underneath the base where I can put the base, and I need to make a gap as well for the fingers, so you can switch it on and off easily, and also be able to change the battery when it runs out. Once I've made the cavity big enough to hold the battery case, I use another router bit to soften the edges, because obviously you don't want any splinters every time you want to turn the character on and off. Also had to drill a hole through for the cables, obviously, and this is where I'm going to glue the battery. So you can see there's a little gap for the fingers, so you can switch them on and off. Obviously, fingers that are less fat than mine are preferable. Now the LEDs and the batteries are fixed, I can treat the wood somehow. I think it's a real shame to paint wood, so I'm going to dye it instead, which should bring out the texture of the wood and make it look nice and smart. And by the magic of jump cut and me forgetting to turn the camera on again, the base is all painted and dry. Now I'm going to use shoe polish to give it a nice softer edge and a bit of a shine as well, which is a trick I learned, I don't remember where, but this is really nice, and to me it smells better than Danish oil, which it just smells of old shoes to me. Yeah, anyway, I don't like it very much. So yeah. So now we put the base to one side and go back to the character to finish the arms. So the plan I had for the arms was to use plaster of Paris, I think it's called, which is just like a bit of a bandage with some plaster on it. Just need to make it wet, and that will soften the plaster, and the bits of thread will start to unravel a little bit. Obviously I can help it a little bit, so it looks a bit eerie and organic. Now here you can see what I mean with the strings coming apart a little bit. So it's nice and flaky at the bottom. It looks like some bits hanging from the arms. It's nice and easy to work with. Just need to let it dry. And the good thing with this one is that it doesn't need baking. It's just nice and hard. Well, hardish. Yeah, it will break if you mistreat it. But it's hard enough for the purpose. So I'm now going to give it a dark color for the base. So basically try and match the color of the skin of the color I use for the polymer clay. And once it's dry, I prepare another coat of paint, more watery this time and as close as possible to the sycamore seeds color. So this will bring out the texture of the plaster of Paris. Make it look a bit more organic and more bark-like. So once it's ready, we're ready to put the face and attach it to the base that we painted before. So we make sure we're going to have enough room. This base comes with a glass dome, so I need to make sure it's in the right position, so the glass dome is not going to get in the way of the seeds. So I can still access it and switch it on and off. That works. Yeah, I need to make sure it still works before I glue things in. Now, you guessed it, time for the dreaded hot glue, which I hate so much. I think it's the one I need to use in this case, so it doesn't go anywhere. And finally, the time has come for the eyes and face. Make sure the LEDs go inside the brass pipes that we put earlier, and put a bit of glue on the top to begin with, and then below again to secure it. And that's the Hojarasquín finished. Now, I totally didn't account for the cabochons to be like magnifying glasses, so, and the LEDs are quite strong, so the light is actually quite strong. It's quite in your face, or on his face rather. The point is, it works and it looks great, and I hope you agree with me. I hope you enjoyed watching my process for making this character. It was quite fun for me, a lot of new things I've never done before, and a lot of things I always wanted to do, and I'm really pleased with him. Thank you again, and until next time, bye!